This car that you see on the screen, it was repoed by Wells Fargo. And obviously, someone was not happy about getting their car taken from the bank.
And I'm seeing more and more repos just like this one show up at the auctions that I go to every single week. Rising volumes of repos just like this one means there's something very, very wrong. So we have cars everywhere. And the biggest question right now is, how can anyone afford to buy one of these vehicles? But here's the thing, the question really should be, once they buy it, how can they afford to keep it? And what happens when all these people stop making their payments? Because that's happening right now. New or used, it doesn't matter. Everyone is feeling the pain. And I'm feeling the pain here at my car lot too, and it's getting worse. Subprime delinquencies that are over 60 days late hit 6.9% this year. That's the worst that we have ever seen since we've been recording this data. That goes back over 30 years. That's worse than 2008. That's worse than COVID. Right now is the record.
So let's look a little more closely at this key challenger that was at auction. So I know this car was a Wells Fargo car because when I go to these auctions, I can see each and every one of these sellers on each and every one of these cars. You can see there's basically a sign on the top of this windshield of this challenger that says Wells Fargo. That is who is selling this car at this auction. The other thing that I know about this vehicle is it's absolutely a repo. The reason we know this is because a large bank is not in the wholesaling business. They're not in the buy-sell business. Wells Fargo does not have a car dealership where they're taking in trade-ins and then send them to auction to try to make money on them. No, they're holding the notes on these vehicles, and when someone, just like on this Challenger, defaults on their loan, they go and pick up this car and they take it to the auction to try to cut their losses.
Serious delinquencies, which are categorized by delinquencies that are over 90 days late, hit 5.6% this year, and there's no end in sight. And it's about to get worse because we're right now coming up into that Goldilocks zone of all of these people that 2-3 years ago paid $10,000 and $20,000 over market for all of these vehicles. So here's what's so worrisome for the market. See, we hit peak pricing here in the car market in 2022. And the highest risk period for someone to default on their car loan is between 33 months and 45 months. You can do the math. We're rolling up on that Goldilocks time period right now. And the danger zone for a lot of these loans are coming up. And this is the tsunami that we're looking at right now here in the car market. And it's no wonder why it's such a massive problem right now. Let's check out the price on this car. Actually, you know what? Let's bring in the music. Yo, let's check out this car. Here at Max Car Payment, we can get this 2025 Honda Accord with 28,000 miles for the low price of $26,998. That's a lot of cheddar. And if you're like me and you don't have that kind of dough, I can't even afford a ham sandwich. We got easy payments for you. Just $694 a month for 72 months at a low interest rate of 22.95%. And I know that seems like a mortgage, but at some point during this loan, you're probably going to be living in it.
All right, so let's look at the real numbers that come along with this loan that someone's getting from CarMax on this Accord. So you can see the price on this car. I've got it in here as $26,998. Now, in most cases, these customers, they're putting little to no money down, but let's say this customer had a down payment that is equal to the taxes and fees that they're going to have to pay with this car. So we can just kind of take that out of the equation here and just use the actual price of the car. Loan term we have here at 72 months. Which is not rare now. This is how people are able to actually afford a monthly payment. We have to stretch them out so far. Interest rate is a disgusting 22.95% for bad credit here at CarMax. So now we can look at what the customer is actually paying for this car over the course of this term. 72 months, all these payments in, $49,943.69 that they're paying on this $27,000 car when everything is said and done. Just in interest, they're paying almost $23,000 $50,000.
So these loans are designed to look very affordable, but the truth lies in the overall totals that these customers are going to actually pay at the end of these loans. But here's the thing. What happens 18 months later when some kind of unexpected financial emergency happens with these consumers that are living paycheck to paycheck? Or what happens when something on that car actually breaks? That customer doesn't have the money to fix an alternator, to even buy a battery. I mean, a battery for a car right now is like $200. These affordable looking loans are already stretching all these customers so thin. And the problems even get worse with these new vehicles. This is a new F-150. It's not the highest level trim. It's not the lowest level trim. It's right there in the middle. And it's $64,000. So the auto loan market size back in 2010 was only $800 billion. And now we compare that to what we have today, and right now it's sitting at $1.7 trillion. So likely there are more distressed people with these auto loans than there were back during the Great Recession. And this is actually an easy thing to comprehend because even back in 2008, 2009, 2010, with all the destruction of wealth and chaos and crisis that was going on, there was still a higher ability then to pay for a car in cash than there is right now, just for the simple fact of the price points of back in 2008, 2009, 2010 versus today. The average new car price is $50,000. Unobtainable for the average American to pay cash for something like that right now. And even when we look at the average used car, like we showed you earlier, nobody has that cash just sitting around that's able to actually purchase even a used car for cash right now. Just your average American. Not going to happen. So people, the only way that they are able to actually buy a vehicle is by putting it on payments. They're not cash buyers anymore. It's all payment buyers. So now let's paint this picture for this Challenger that we see at the beginning of this video that's all keyed up. We go back in time, back to when prices were at their maximum. During this demand crunch that we saw in the car market, prices were astronomical. Well, we have Mr. Customer saying, okay, looking at my bills, and bills are fine. I can afford everything, and I've got money rolling in from the government. No problem. You know what I think I can do? I can buy a brand new car. So what do? They roll into the Dodge dealership. They say, you know what? I really like these Challengers. I really like these Chargers, and I would like to buy one. Well, the dealer says, you know what? No problem. We've actually got one rolling in on the truck. We don't have any on the lot. Demand's crazy right now. Supply's down. We can't get any. So, okay, but we got one rolling in today. And that Challenger comes in. Customer says, you know what? I want it. Let's put my name down on it, and I'm going to buy it today. Well, the MSRP on that Challenger today is $50,000. But dealer says, okay, Mr. Customer, no problem. But you know, we have this demand crunch right now. Supply and demand in the car market, is a big problem. So it's not a $50,000 Challenger like the MSRP says. It's we're going to have to add a $20,000 market adjustment on it. So now that's that $50,000 Challenger that you're looking at becomes a $70,000 Challenger. Customer says, no problem. And the dealer says, okay, well, if you don't want it, we got 5 people waiting behind you to buy that car because the demand is so high for this thing. So customer says, no problem, I'll buy it. And then the Mr. Dealer says, wait. But wait, there's more. We have add-ons to protect you. We've got paint protectant. We've got door edge guards. We have a coffee cup etched with our logo on it. And all this stuff we have to leave on the car. We can't take it off. We've already put it on. The cup is already in the cup holder. So you got to buy it. All that comes to an extra $10,000. So now that $50,000 Challenger now is an $80,000 Challenger. And the dealer says, well, but wait, there's more. So we're going to add our dock fee on there. And the government's got to get their money, right? Got to pay your taxes. You got to pay your registration. You got to pay your title fee. So all this is coming up to $85,000 now on this $50,000 Challenger. So Mr. Customer says, oh, that's a whole lot of bread. That's a lot of money. I don't know about that. But you know what? I understand supply and demand, and I can afford it. I really want this Challenger. I got one problem, though, Mr. Dealer. Even though I got money rolling in right now, government's being good to us right now. I don't really have any money put away. I can't really put very much money down. So Mr. Dealer says, no problem. Let's look at some of the lenders that we have out there and see what we can work out for you. Mr. Dealer comes back to customer and says, no problem, Mr. Customer. We were actually able to get you in this loan. Easy terms. We stretch it out as long as you live. And here's the thing, we put you in this car. Here's the crazy thing about this whole situation. The banks actually lent this $85,000 on this book valued $50,000 vehicle to Mr. Customer. So now here's how the rest of the story plays out. Well, you have 12 months later, Dodge, who was providing the dealership these vehicles, who couldn't get these dealers enough of these Challengers, these Chargers to keep up with the demand for them. Well, what happens now? All these Challengers, Chargers are being produced and unloaded to all these dealers, and now the dealers have tons of them. So much so that they can't even give them away. So what they were once being able to sell for $85,000, now they're taking 20% off, and they're still having a hard time selling. So that $85,000 vehicle they could sell 12 months prior, now they're having a hard time selling it for $40,000. Now, what does that do for the value for Mr. Customer's Challenger that he bought last year? Well, it tanks it. And he doesn't really know 12 months later, but we roll another 6 months. Government money now is all stopped. Inflation's taking its toll. All right, now, me as a Mr. Customer, my bills are creeping up. All right, I'm having a hard time making rent at this point. Okay, well, what can go? What can go right now? Well, I have this massive car payment on this Challenger. I really shouldn't have bought it, but you know what? I wanted it, but now the new car smell is gone away from it. The shininess is worn off. You know what? Let's do the smart thing and let's trade this thing in. Let's go get us a nice used Honda Civic and see if we can get rid of this massive car payment that I can't afford right now. So he goes back into the dealer with this Challenger and says, okay, I want to trade this thing in. I want to get something more reasonable. Get me into a little Honda Civic. Let's do that. Dealer says, no problem. We love taking trade-ins. We love getting you in new cars. We're so glad you came back to us with your business. So Challenger, they run the numbers, say, okay, well, we can get you into this Honda Civic now, and it's only a $500 payment versus the astronomical payment that you're paying right now. But we have one little detail that we have to take care of here. Well, your Challenger that you paid $85,000 for 18 months later is now only worth about $25,000. And you still owe about $65,000 on this thing. So you just cut us a check for $40,000. We'll make this thing go away, get you in your new Honda Civic, and no problem. And here's the thing. Mr. Customer says, no problem. $40,000. Man, I can't even make rent. What are you talking about? I don't have any money in my bank account right now. So Mr. Dealer says, okay, well, there's really nothing that we can do for you. There's the door. So Mr. Customer goes home. He starts looking at his paperwork that he has tucked in a drawer and says, how did I wind up in this situation right here? How did the bank loan me this amount of money when they knew I couldn't pay it? How did the dealer charge so much extra on top of this vehicle? And how does the manufacturer charge so much for this Challenger? It's all corporate greed. It's not my fault. I'm a Mr. Customer. It's not my fault. I didn't know what I was doing. So Mr. Customer is now mad at the whole system. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to get back at the man. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop paying, and they're going to have to come pick up the car. And then it's going to be their problem. And you know what? I'm going to destroy this thing, and it's going to be all on them. And it's their fault that they put me in this situation. And what that customer doesn't know, or they don't care about, is that vehicle is going to be repossessed, in this case by Wells Fargo. It's going to be taken to a dealer auction, and it's going to be auctioned off. And in that particular case, that vehicle that was at the moment worth about $25,000, the outside was destroyed, and more than likely the inside looks just as bad as the outside. Well, that vehicle is now worth only $18,000 to a dealer. That's all it brings, because the dealer who buys it's going to have to do surgery on that thing to make it to where they can sell it again. So now that customer is actually on the hook for the deficit between the $65,000 they owe and the $18,000 that it brings at auction. And that's a $47,000 difference that the customer who couldn't make rent has to come up with. We all know that Wells Fargo is never going to see the money for that. But here's the scary part. So over the last year, these large banks, these large lending institutions, as well as CarMax and Carvana, have been greatly increasing their loan loss provisions. Now, a loan loss provision is a store of money that these lending institutions put back just in case of this scenario and if it happens in mass scale. Over the last year, they see the storm that's coming. They see these scenarios that are coming. And they're more and more putting money back to prepare for this storm. And that's very worrying for not only just the car market, what I'm living in, but the economy. And one thing that I've heard a lot from sales managers, from these dealerships, salespeople, is that one of their biggest reasons for not making a sale right now is the amount of negative equity that's coming into the store from a consumer that wants to buy one of these brand new trucks. They come in with $10,000, $20,000 of negative equity on their vehicle that they have right now. And there's nothing that dealership can do to get them out of that, to get that trade-in into their facility and then get them into one of these brand new loans. And what this will end up doing is taking a lot of consumers out of the market. There's so much negative equity right now in the car market that there's just going to be this massive vacuum of people who would buy a new vehicle every 3 or 4 years. But right now, they can't. And it's not just auto loans that are a problem here. We have a rising term around the market here called survival debt. And what that means is that people are putting gas, utilities, groceries on credit cards, where in the last few years it had been more of a vacation or a splurge kind of thing that people would go into debt for to use. But no, they've tapped all their savings. They've tapped all of their checking. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And now even they're finding that that's not enough. So when they have to go buy their kids groceries, when they have to put gas in their car, what are they doing? They're using their credit card. Credit card delinquencies are rising. This is a big, big problem for our market. So these same overextended households have auto loans that are competing for the same paycheck. It's just that this auto loan crisis, this auto loan problem is more visible to the average person just looking at someone else, right? Because the bank can physically come take the car away whenever they default on their loans. But with credit cards, it's not so visible. You could have a family member, a friend, someone very close to you that has $50,000 in consumer debt and absolutely drowning, and you might never know about it. And I know what you're saying. Shouldn't these repos coming into the system, shouldn't they help the whole car market because it's going to lower the prices and make things more affordable? Well, in a way it may, but not for the reason that you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, this influx of supply coming into the marketplace is going to, supply and demand is going to bring up supply and help prices come down in that way. But really, a lot of these repos are not cars that are going to enter back into the road. Now, the Challenger that we saw earlier, that can be, we can paint the outside, we can get the scratches buffed out. Maybe not on that particular case because they're so deep. But that car will be able to be resold in the marketplace. But in most cases, a lot of these cheaper cars, they come in, they're destroyed, and they're not worth fixing. In a lot of cases, it's not cosmetic things, it's mechanical things. You have the customer that's making monthly payments, and then their motor blows. Well, that customer is not going to fix that motor. One, they don't have the money for it, and two, they owe so much on it, it's just not worth it for them to put any money into the actual vehicle. They let it go back, and then they'll just get into payments onto something else. And that's the thing. A lot of these vehicles that enter into the wholesale realm of things, these dealer auctions that I go to try to buy repos are the worst of the worst of the worst. Dirty, nasty, broken. A lot of them we don't want to fix. And unfortunately, a lot of them just get reduced to scrap. They take a loss on the banking side. Dealer that buys it, uses it for parts, dumps it out. It's not that much of a help to supply like you think it might be. So now, what do I think is going to happen with all this? Well, I think that repos are going to continue to rise. I think the environment's going to continue to get worse. I think people's pocketbooks are going to continue to diminish. Savings going to keep going down. Things are going to get worse in the car market. And what ends up happening is because of all that, banks have to actually tighten up on who they're lending out for these car loans. And that's a big net negative for the car market because it's going to take a lot of buyers out of the system. You got to think, everybody, I mean, it's like over 83%, I think. It's like 83 to 85% of car buyers right now are payment buyers. So you're going to take a large chunk of those buyers who can no longer qualify for these auto loans out of the system. And when you do that, volumes go down And in large part, you have trade-ins that come in out of that. Because the only way that I get cars, this is my car lot. The only way that I get cars is from going to auctions and buying trade-ins from other car dealers, these massive new car franchise stores. But if you start taking the volumes down at those stores, well, the cars that these customers are now driving, they want to buy new cars. But if they can't qualify for the loans, well, those dealers never get the trade-ins. That means those trade-ins never show up at auction. That means I never get a trade-in. That's a big, big problem for the car market. Right now, used cars are already stubbornly high. If you take the supply down, they're going to stay stubbornly high. Demand, because people are hurting, can still go down. But if the supply goes down all at the same rate, well, this is a setup for that bad word stagflation, right? Not a good thing. Definitely not a good thing for the car market and for me running a small business here in the car market. So now what can you take away from all of this negative information that's coming, all these repos that are rising, the market that's in turmoil right now? What can you do in your household? Well, the easiest way for you to avoid any of these situations is to, easy, buy something that you can actually afford. And no, this is going to be a controversial statement here in the comments. No, that does not mean you buy something that you can afford the payment. That's the normal person thing to do, right? You get a car payment. That's what normal people do. Don't be normal. Buy something you actually afford, and that means pay cash for. If you can't pay cash for a car, you can't afford it. I know that's weird to hear, especially from a car dealer. But if you have to take debt out on an asset, a liability, whatever you want to call these stupid junk boxes that are up here, that are going down in value, that's not something you want to borrow money on. Save up some cash, buy something you can actually afford, and that's how you avoid all this. So my name is Brandon. Yes, I am a small used car dealer. If you like videos just like this one and you want me to make more of them, make sure you hit the subscribe button and let me know what you think down in the comments. Thanks for watching.